Mike Alcoholic. I really appreciate it. I was thinking about the doctor's opinion a little bit. I like how on the second page of the doctor's opinion where it talks about you can rely absolutely on what they say about themselves, it got me to thinking a little bit. Interestingly enough, Bill and Bob wanted us to rely on what the doctor said as well. You know, all these XXVIs and all this in the edition that I've got when Mr. S gave me this book. This is the third edition. I think the pages have changed. Somebody may have said 2 pages up for the fourth edition. I don't know, but used to be page 1. You know, they started this out, the doctor's opinion, to be the first chapter. Notice there's 11 chapters starting with Bill, but this was designed to be a chapter of the big book. Very essential. He actually wanted this to be first, and the number 12 is replete throughout our AA culture. 12 steps, 12 traditions, 12 promises, 12 chapters, and Bill W. said, if 12 is good enough for JC, it's good enough for us. And he even gave, and that's a true story, he even gave the carpenter an honorable mention on page 11. So steeped in culture this fellowship is, and to be a well-rounded member, study the history, I must. I like the doctor's opinion. I'm going to start off in my edition, it's XXVI. I guess for newer editions, it's 2 pages. You'll find it, but when you hear what I read, you'll know where to find it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read a sentence. I'm going to take a small little journey throughout a couple of places in the book, but I'm going to end up close to where I started, and hopefully we can get a topic out of that. What I want to read from is something that was just read from Men and Women Drink Essentially Because They Like the Effect Produced by Alcohol. You know, when I was thinking about that word, you know, it's true. It can never be not true. But that effect, the word effect, is so much broader than just one word. I need to know why I kept going to drink again after I sang the Alcoholics National Anthem, I'll Never Do It Again. And it was for certainly something more than just the word effect. It had to have given me a lot more than that for me to throw away everything and destroy anything in my path. I heard Joe and Charlie do this in the late 80s, and I like the way he did it. I'm going to do it this way. I usually do it when I speak at treatment centers because it's like the answer is paramount. Why do I keep starting back? And what is this effect? Bottom of 83, it talks about, and this was the effect, is why I kept going back. When I took a drink of alcohol, I knew a new freedom and a new happiness. When I got drunk, I didn't regret the past and wished to shut the door on it. When I drank alcohol, I comprehended the word serenity and I knew peace. When I got loaded, no matter how far down the scale I had gone, I could see how my experience could benefit others. You know, it got a chuckle on his tapes too, so I guess that's still a good one. When I got drunk, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity disappeared. When I got drunk, my whole attitude and outlook upon life changed. When I got drunk, fear of people and of economic insecurity left me. When I took a drink of alcohol, I intuitively knew how to handle situations that used to baffle me. I suddenly realized that alcohol was doing for me what I could not do for myself. And that's exactly why I kept going back. That's exactly what the effect is. And it's no wonder that I kept going back because I needed those things in my life. It's so wonderful that I get those things from the steps today. What is the effect of the steps? I want to go over to 85 just for a second, and then I'm going to end up on the doctor's opinion. You know, in Bill's story on 13, where it talks about honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to establish and maintain the new order of things with the essential requirements. Later on in the book, he talks about to duplicate with such backing what we've accomplished here is a matter of willingness, patience, and labor. So we have several requirements: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, patience, and labor. It's not on God's time. It's not on my time. It's God's time. And I must be willing to meet him a little bit less than halfway. And like Dr. Bob said, if I put half the zeal into this thing that I put out there, my Heavenly Father won't let me down. The reason I'm keying in on labor is because on 85 it talks about that new order of things. What I'm striving for in here, this position of neutrality, reacting sanely and normally, not having sworn off, it's just been removed. This new attitude toward liquor has been given me with little or no, without any thought or effort on my part. It just comes. That is the miracle. So I don't have to worry about quitting 5 minutes before the miracle, because this page defines the miracle. That new attitude toward liquor, that neutrality. But that's not what I want to key in on. I want to key in on what it talks about given us without any thought or effort on our part. The word effort is what I'm keying on. And I think that, and I've observed that many newcomers will go straight to the cliff notes, so to speak, and say, I want this little or no effort program. That's what I want. Yeah, somebody's talking about reading books and getting notebooks. I want this little or no effort program. But the thing about it is it's interesting that it talks about little or no effort. And those of us that have been around here a little while, we know that there's got to be some effort. And not only that, there's requirements and rules, isn't there? So what he's talking about here is, in a moment of temptation, I recoil. In a moment of temptation, this recoiling happens with little or no effort. It must happen that way. But we all know who've been here, it takes a lot of effort to place me in a position to be in that moment. I'll say it again. It's little or no effort when I get tempted, if I get tempted. And I can't recall when the last time I was actually tempted. Fleeting thought is different than an obsession. We won't go into that. But that happens automatically, little or no effort. So if you're a newcomer, you don't think there's no little or no effort program. It takes a lot of effort in following rules and labor to get myself in a mental state, which he says is the crux of my problem, mental state preceding the first drink. It takes a lot of effort to get myself in a position to have that new order of things. So I need not think I can just come in here and have the miracle rub off by osmosis. Now, why did I accentuate this idea about effort? I want to go back to the doctor's opinion where we just were. And that's why I took this little journey, was because I wanted to key in on the word effort. At the end of what was just read before the 12 steps, it talks about, on the other hand, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. Now, that's a pretty bold statement. I think if you were to go into any meeting and say, I'm Mike, I find myself easily able to control my desire for alcohol, people would probably look at you like you're kind of crazy. But the thing about it is that this book is full of bold statements. In another book I read, the Big Book, talks about speak boldly as you ought to speak. Because I think newcomers need to feel comforted that there are some people who have accomplished this thing with God's help. You know, if I'm here 26 years later still saying I'm the same sick, selfish son of a bitch as the first day I walked in, and I'm powerless over everything, which isn't in the book, by the way, it doesn't instill much hope. So what I want to say about what it says here, one sentence later, it talks about, and I do find myself easily able to control my desire for alcohol. Here it is, the only effort necessary is being that required to follow a few simple rules. And that's now it's clear why I took that little journey. I wanted to talk about the effect. I want to talk about what it really is, which it gave me those promises. I want to talk about the new order of things, how it seemingly says no effort, but we know the effort is really there. And to go back to what they intended me to really listen to what the doctor had to say, was the effort necessary is that to follow a few simple rules. Rules, requirements. We say suggestions, but for me, if I want what somebody has, their suggestion becomes a command to me. And what I have found is that once I've followed these suggestions, which become commandments, coupled with my desire to have this thing, I find myself easily able to control my desire for alcohol, not with little or no effort, but with much effort. And the insurance paid and the good times gives me that insurance and that assurance in that moment of temptation. That revulsion will come with little or no effort. I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, and I'll pass.
Thanks, Mike.